Hi, and welcome back. I was happily surprised with the responses on the previous videos. Many of you have viewed it, and I got a lot of great comments, which I tried to answer in the comments myself. But I also thought I'd collect a few of the most frequently asked ones and combine them in a Q&A video where I could go a bit more into detail. So that's this one. And I've tried to answer the question starting with the short answer. So if you just want to know what's the answer to the question, you can get it and skip ahead to the next one, but also go into a bit more detail for those interested. So I hope you find that interesting. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. So while I'm taking my last motorcycle ride of the season, probably, I thought I'd answer one or two questions. The first that I saw popping up a lot is, it's all well and good that you're living your life here, but surely you must do something to earn an income. Which of course is true. It's all well and good that we sold our house in the Netherlands and that we use the profits to buy a house here, so we don't have a mortgage, so our living costs are a lot lower than they used to be. But of course you still need to eat, still need to heat the house, and all those renovations also cost a lot of money. So the short answer is, I don't have a job, but Natalie does have a job. So she can work from home full-time. Sometimes she has to go to the office for an event or something, but say 98% of the time it's from home. So that brings enough money in for us to do most things we want. So that was actually also the whole reason behind this move, is that I also used to have a job, an office job. I worked in IT as a project manager, as a business analyst, as all kinds of jobs for I don't know, 12, 13 years. And I didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life, so I made some changes at certain points. I changed companies, I changed jobs, I changed careers. I spent a few months as a builder, an apprentice builder, but I also didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. So I was kind of out of ideas. So I wanted to be able to take a step back, and with the life we had and the costs we had, I didn't feel comfortable. I think it would have been possible, but I didn't feel comfortable doing that. So then I started thinking, and we started discussing on how we could decrease our costs so that we could get by with only one income. So we looked at other places in the Netherlands to move where houses might be cheaper, so we could afford a house, and our mortgage costs would be a lot lower. But after looking at some houses, we almost bought one actually, but we quickly came to the realization that that wasn't really feasible in the Netherlands with the house prices as they were. I had already been toying with the idea for several years to move to another country. In the beginning, that was just as sort of an adventure, an idea to be able to have an adventure, experience other cultures, etc. But then after that period of thinking, it became kind of the solution to decrease our costs, because there's lots of other countries in Europe, not just Sweden, where you can still buy a house with some land for an okay price. We didn't jump in immediately. We had the idea to first take a long vacation where we would continue working, we would keep our jobs. So we took 6 weeks. We lived in Sweden, we rented a house, just an Airbnb really, and to see what it was like. We did that in November because we knew that if we were moving here, that the winters would probably be the most challenging. So we, early November to mid-December, we spent some time in Sweden, just working, shopping, living, experiencing really. And that was such a good experience. The hosts of the Airbnb are still good friends of ours. It was such a warm welcome, and everyone we met was very welcoming. We enjoyed it very much, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have made the move. So that's what we did. Basically, quite soon after those 6 weeks, we made the decision. Yeah, this is going to be the change for us. So I quit my job. Natalie kept her job, but did negotiate and discuss if she could keep doing her job from Sweden. She was already working remote full-time. She went to the office a bit more often then because she had some colleagues in the Netherlands. But that was okay, with some minor hiccups, but sure. So then we sold our house, and I think 3 months after those 6 weeks in Sweden, we were here permanently in a rented house to be able to start looking for our house to buy. So that's the long story. So the short story is I don't work, but we do have some form of traditional income. I wouldn't say that I would never go back to work again. I wanted to take some time to do what I felt like doing. So that's what I'm doing now. So renovation, working in the forest, hunting, and then I also want to be open to any opportunities that come my way. But now that we've lived here for a year and a half, and we know that it's perfectly possible on one income, and Natalie said before this move that she is perfectly happy with just keeping a normal job. She's just slightly different that way than I am. I'm not great with you have to be at work at X o'clock and you have to leave at Y o'clock. I'm a bit more, tell me what I need to do and I'll do it in the time that I think it requires, and that's just not a great fit. So yeah, I just want to keep my eyes open if there's like some small jobs that give us a small income. It doesn't need to pay well, but needs to feel right. Then I definitely won't pass that up. And then maybe in a few years, Natalie will say, now I'm kind of tired of working. Actually, I'd like to take a break for a few years. Then we'll see. I might apply for a job again. So yeah, that's what we do to get an income, and that's the reason for moving to Sweden. Some of you also asked, where do you live, or have made your own assumptions based on the map. Well, short of giving you my exact address, we live close to Filipstad, but of course live in the countryside, on the edge of a small village. It's about 10 minutes from here to the supermarket in the village. It's a decently sized one, and then if we want to drive to Filipstad for a bigger supermarket or some other shops, it's about half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour, I'd say. And then for anything else, we need to go to Karlstad, which is even further. So that's like for the bigger DIY stores, for the XXL sporting goods. So then we need to go to Karlstad. But so where we used to live in the Netherlands, it was probably a 5-minute cycle to the nearest supermarket, which was open till 10 in the evening every day. So here the supermarket is open every day, which is good, but they're open till 7 and 6 on Sunday, so that's still very reasonable. But it is true, you do give up some convenience by moving out to the countryside, but you do get a lot in return. What more can I say about where we live? Yeah, so there's a village about we live about 5 kilometers from the village. Then there's a small nucleus, let's say center of houses. That's, I think, about maybe 10 houses at the start of the gravel road. And then we're about 3-4 kilometers from the start of the gravel road. And then the houses get spread more thinly. So we are here, and there's a neighbor about 500 meters that way. There's a neighbor about 500 meters that way as well. Nah, that one's closer, about 200 or 300 meters maybe. And then the closest neighbor again is a few kilometers away. So we don't live totally isolated, but we have a lot of space around us. And what we loved is this house being slightly further removed from the gravel road. It's not a busy road, obviously, but where we lived before, we were basically on the gravel road, and as everyone that's driving past sees what you're doing, if you're mowing the lawn, if you have your clothes drying outside, which isn't a big deal, but it does make you conscious about those things. And where we live now, especially in the summer, people on this gravel road can't see our house, can't see our garden. We can just let the dogs run free because there's not the risk of them recognizing a car or recognizing someone and running up to them. They can just do their thing in the garden. So yeah, that's really lovely. And then you just need to plan ahead a bit more in terms of groceries, and especially the bigger, more specialized items that you can't buy at the supermarket that you would have to go to Karlstad for. So I'd say every 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, we go into Karlstad because we need something in terms of renovations. We want to go clothing shopping, shoe shopping, go to a bigger pet shop for the dogs or whatever. And then when we say, okay, this weekend we're going to go to Karlstad again, then we start a list of what we need or which places we want to visit, so that we don't come back and, darn, we should have visited X. Because then we're not going to go back the next week, because I wouldn't say it's a full day, but we're definitely gone for 5 to 6 hours. 3 hours of those are driving. So it's it does require a bit more planning, and I do order a lot online because that's just more convenient. If for my renovations or whatever I need a new light fixture, or I just order that online, because otherwise I'm in the car for another hour if I go to Philipsstad, or 3 hours if I go to Karlstad just for one thing, which I find a bit of a waste of time and energy. So I hope that long-winded, incoherent rambling gives a bit of information about where we live, how close to amenities like supermarkets we are, and not enough information for any loonies on the internet to come and visit us. Some people have also wondered if we speak Swedish. And yes, we do. I went to school for Swedish for a few months to quickly get the basics down. and Natalie didn't have time because she had a job, so she basically learned from apps and from speaking with neighbors and TV. So my Swedish is probably at a slightly higher level, because I also did the hunting course and the chainsaw course, which helped. Of course, at the start, when we just moved here, our Swedish wasn't great. We could say thank you, my name is, etc. So we managed with English for arranging bank accounts, all the first stuff that we needed to arrange while improving our Swedish. Luckily, we had friends that had already made the move, so we could ask what was necessary, which places to call or check, because it's mostly calling. There's some stuff that you can do online, but it's not. It's not the big thing here. It's mostly call us to arrange it. So that's what we did. And then when you call and you ask, okay, do you speak English? Oftentimes it's yes, or I'll get a colleague that speaks English, and then you'll handle it in English. But I did notice that you don't always, get the best service. Like, they might say they speak English, and then they don't really grasp the more complicated questions. That might also be because you mostly talk to slightly more inexperienced young customer service people that stick to the script and don't really know what to do when a question isn't a normal question, which we had a lot of the times. But anyway, but also I wanted to learn Swedish to, be able to enjoy Swedish society a bit more, what Sweden has to offer. So doing a few courses, just having a simple chat with the neighbors while passing by, just having a brief chat with someone at the register at the supermarket, and most of these people, our neighbors, they speak English, but it's just, I don't know, it wouldn't feel right to do all that in English. It's I don't think it's required, but I do think it's easier to integrate in society if you do speak Swedish, or at least make an effort and show an effort in speaking Swedish, because it is appreciated, and there are lots of welcoming people that are willing to have a chat in English, but there's also just the normal people going about their lives that might be willing to exchange a few words in Swedish, but as soon as they hear that you're a tourist, a foreigner, whatever, it's not racist, it's not discrimination, it's just slightly too much effort, so then they won't bother. So then you'll miss out on that. And now my Swedish is at the point where I don't really need English a lot anymore. When I call contractors or the power company or whatever, I can handle that in Swedish. When it does get too complicated, either for me or for the other person at the other end of the line, because of course, if I have to explain something complicated in Swedish, it might not come across very well. So when I do notice that, I do ask, okay, could I try to explain this in English? And then sometimes I switch over to English. Like a good example was with our mobile phone company. We had a subscription before we had our personnummer, and we kept getting bills on our old address after we'd moved because it wasn't connected to a personnummer. And that was just too complicated to explain in Swedish because it doesn't happen a lot. So the person at the other end of the line, just even if you explained it in English, it took 3 or 4 times to explain. So that whenever I called them, I just immediately said, okay, do you speak English? Because I knew it was going to be a challenge either way. So then I feel more comfortable. I can explain more complex things in English. But that's getting better and better in Swedish as well. Some people have asked things in the region of, but isn't it complicated to buy a house in Sweden? Don't you need a bank account? Or basically questions that I interpreted as, what's really required to buy a house in Sweden? And it can be quite a spiral, a loop of red tape. Because yes, you need a bank account to buy a house. You need, okay, one step back. I don't think officially you need a bank account and Swedish money to buy a house, but everywhere we went to have a look before we had a bank account and we asked, is this a problem? They said, yes, this is a problem. So what we've understood and what we've arranged to buy our house in Sweden is, firstly, a personnummer. That's step one. And step 0, before you can get a personnummer, is having a residency and address in Sweden. So there are probably other ways, but again, I'll just go into the route that we took because I know how that worked. So to apply for a personnummer, you need to meet certain criteria, that you have an income, that you have a residency, that you have a visa, blah blah blah. So you apply for your personnummer, you get that, you get your ID card from the tax office, and with that personnummer you can apply for a bank account. And usually when you open a bank account, the bank wants to know, okay, do you have an income? Are you going to pay taxes in Sweden? Where's your income coming from? Do you have savings? Where's that coming from? And then even when you're transferring your money, you need to show them where that money is coming from with all kinds of documents. There's all kinds of rules and regulations that your money can't be from criminal activity, that it can't be laundered money. So, Hank, we were going to toss that jerry can, not take it back into the forest again. Come. We'll take it on the way back. And then when you finally have a bank account and you have your money there, or I guess you can also have a letter of intent from the bank that they are willing to give you a mortgage, then you can buy a house. So you can bid on a house without any of that, but then when the time comes and you have the winning bid, yeah, it's going to go to the second highest bid because they're not going to be able to sell it to you. So it's good to have that in order, and this all goes for buying a house for permanent residency, of course. If you're buying a holiday home, I'm not sure how strict the rules are there, but I think having at least a number with the Swedish government and a bank account will greatly make things easier. So yes, it was quite a lot of red tape, but if you're living here rented and you don't have a deadline that you have to leave, then it's just doing something, waiting for a few weeks, making one call, sending a letter, waiting again. So then it's just having patience and being able to manage your own frustration with the process, and then you'll get there in the end. Just having a rent a place where you can stay for an indefinite amount of time, I'd say at least took us about 5-6 months, I think, to get everything arranged that we could start bidding on houses. Shall we deliver that to the bin? It's a jerry can that we've seen many times on a walk in the forest, and every time we think we should take that and toss it. And yesterday Natalie went on a walk and Hank carried it all the way back home, so we can toss it now. But now he's carried it all the way on this little walk again. So well, he's on his way home again with it. So then we can toss it, and the forest is that little bit tidier, cleaner again. Another question I got, which was quite specific, was how do you go about getting a gun license in Sweden, specifically for a foreigner? So there are two ways. I'll mostly go into how I went about it because I know the most about that. So the two ways are, first, to be an active member of a shooting club where you do target practice and maybe competition, which I didn't do. I did the second way, which is to become a hunter, or at least get a hunting license. So I think that's also the most common, even for people that do competitions, probably also have a hunting license. So how do you go about getting a hunting license? I think the first step, or at least which I would recommend, is to learn Swedish, at least good enough so that you can have a simple conversation, understand what people are saying, maybe not necessarily being able to express yourself fully in Swedish, but at least understand it. The way I did that was I went to SFE, Swedish for immigrants, for half a year, and I studied on my own. And after that, I felt like my Swedish was good enough to, I don't know, get maybe 80% of what most people were saying. And I think by the time I went to the hunting course, I think it was closer to 85-90%. So then the 10% that you don't understand, you can make out from the context of the sentence. And there are many courses you can do. You can also study on your own. It's not mandatory to do a course. It's only mandatory to do 2 tests, theoretical and practical. But it's quite a lot of theory, and it's also a good opportunity to learn some more Swedish. It's a good opportunity to meet people, to talk about the hunt. In the course that I did, we spent most of the time talking about the ethics of hunt, the developments, the history, where it's going, because the theory was in the book. So it was every week there was an evening where we went to school, and we were able to ask questions about the theory that we read. And I specifically chose this course because it had some time in between classes, so I could read the theory on my own, which was usually about 75 to 90 pages, so it was quite a lot. And since I wasn't very confident about my Swedish yet, I wanted to be able to digest it at my own pace, which worked quite well. That was, I think it was 8 meetings we had, or maybe 10. There are also what they call intensive courses. So you do it in one weekend, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend that because it's just so fast, especially if your Swedish isn't great. Even if your Swedish is great, I think it's probably quite a lot, and the only thing they're going to be focused on, I would think, is passing the test and not really teaching you anything. And that's what I enjoy, is learning new things, learning about the hunt, the species that you're hunting, everything, not just what you need to know for the test. But anyway, so then you do a theoretical test, which I passed, and then you go on to your practical courses and exams, which is about shooting. So that's a few different categories. That's precision shooting, and you do that with the 22. And then there's shotgun shooting. So that's on target pigeons, clay pigeons, and on metal hairs that go from left to right. And then there's the moose track that you practice on 80 meters moving target. And then there's the distance approximation test. So it's a few categories. Did I miss one? No, I think that's it. And of course, on the whole, they test if you are handling the weapon confidently and safely, securely. So when you pass those two tests, then you have your hunting permit, your hunting license. That does not mean that you can go out and buy a gun. All of this you can just do. I don't even think you need to be a Swedish, like have a personnummer number. It makes it all a lot easier to have a personnummer number, of course. But I think this is just the course, and then you finish that and you get your hunting permit. That wasn't really the difficult part. After that, when you have your hunting permit, you can go out to a shop or on the Facebook Marketplace or wherever you can buy guns, and you can buy a gun. Because if you want to apply for a gun license, which you can only do if you have your hunting permit, you need to apply for a specific serial number. So you can't just say to the police, I want to buy a 12 gauge shotgun, can I please do that? No, you need to say, I want to buy this specific Beretta 686 silver pigeon with this serial number, with this length of pipe, with this everything on it, silencer, whatever. So it needs to be very specific. So that makes it easy when you go to a shop, because they do all that for you. Or if you buy it secondhand, which I also did, is you have the existing permit that you need to send along with your request. Then the police will look into your request. I bought 3 guns in a short time span, so 2 at a shop, so this 22 long rifle and my 12 gauge shotgun, and then my 308 I bought from a neighbor second hand, and that was all in the span of 2 weeks. So they bunched them all together, all the requests, and handled them all at the same time. After, I think it was 4 or 5 weeks, I got an email from the police saying, okay, we're handling your request, but we need some more information from your home country. So that's about your criminal record. So then it was quite difficult to find out which document I needed, and I was actually quite apprehensive about having the right document, because I found something on the Dutch website and I sent back to the police, okay, I found this document which I'm going to send to you. And then they basically said, well, I'm not sure if that's going to be the right document, please reconsider. But in the end, it was the right one. So they only say, we need some information about your criminal history in your country of origin. They don't specify which document, what that needs to look like. So I can very specifically say, if you're Dutch, you're going to need a declaration of good behavior, VOG, which is basically if you have a criminal record, that's probably going to say it on there. And what I did is I requested a declaration of good behavior with the reason of becoming member of a shooting club. So in the Netherlands, there's not really, you can't really request a declaration saying that you're allowed to buy a gun. It's just, I thought that came the closest, so that's the one I requested. So then I sent that, and luckily I had quite a good contact person at the police, and she reached out to me and said, okay, I received it, it all looks good, I'm going to continue with processing. And a few days later the message came, okay, I approved your licenses and they're in the mail now. So a few days later I received them in the mail. and then you need to pay something for those gun license requests as well, but that's not an astronomical amount, I think. So summarizing, either active member of a shooting club or a hunting permit. After your hunting permit, your gun license requests based specifically on the gun serial number. Send in additional documentation from your country of origin showing the local police here that you are fine to buy a gun. And then when you receive your gun licenses, go to the store, show them your license, give them a copy of the license, and then pay, basically. In some shops you might have to pay a deposit so that they hold the weapon for you. I didn't have to do that. They just held the weapon for me for 6-7 weeks, how long it took. And then when I showed up with the licenses, they gave me everything I needed. So I hope that answers the question in depth enough. If not, let me know and I'll try to go into more detail in a comment. If you're still here, I'm amazed, but thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought, if I missed anything. And in any case, hopefully see you in the next video. Bye-bye.